Can't tell whether I'm on that or not, but I'm assuming I am. So it says I am on the system I'm on anyway. So we had not done the tutorial for the last newsletter last week, and I wanted to do that because, like all of the 10 pain points of leaders that we covered up to this point, um, it is actually a very important point also. So I guess they're the top 10 points for that reason. They're the top 10 problems that leaders run into. And this one is no different than the others, and we'll get to those in just a few minutes. I am wandering all around Substack trying to figure out the best way to achieve what I would like to achieve, which is to communicate effectively as a consultant, a retired consultant, in a way that provides you premium knowledge and advice that you can use to do a hell of a lot better job than we seem to have done up to this point, in terms of becoming leaders and leading this country, the United States of America, and the world for that matter, because you can see now, if you haven't seen before, it should be damn evident now how much havoc someone who is not an effective leader can wreak on everyone that's around him, including the whole wide world. So this is something that I'm struggling with, and I'm trying to give people help about how to become a more effective leader. And it is through communication. And I am have my coffee here and having my allergy problems that I've had for 2 weeks now. And I'll call them, it's the season, it's spring, and the wind's blowing like crazy here. I keep saying that, so I'll try not to excuse myself too much for that. Um, the issue we're going to be talking about here is empowering your people. And people go, well, I know how to empower my people. I know what to do to empower my people. And, I just have to set the boundaries and give them the right instructions and train them and that kind of, and that is definitely something you want to do, but it's not what's going to encourage the employee to accept that empowerment and to do it effectively. It's not going to necessarily make you feel comfortable empowering your employee. So that's what we're going to be talking about, so get your coffee now if you want to get your coffee. And I think we're live on Substack, and hopefully we're live on YouTube. Let me just tell people I think we are that way. Shows like I am on YouTube anyway. So I'm not sure Substacks is connected, and I'm not quite sure how to look at everything, all the notes. So I may not be getting as much of your messages on Substack as you're trying to send me. I don't know quite sure how to share this out to everything. It says share, and I don't know. There's a preview here or something like that on Substack, and I don't know. I don't want to mess with that right now because I don't want to take the time for us to do what we're doing. But all I know right now is I'll try to figure out how to see how I can read whether you're sending me any kind of notes. But you can always jump over to the Communication Excellence channel on YouTube. It's live there. You can actually get on and type in. I know on some things you can type in, like on YouTube, you can type in a question or something and it'll pop up there. So if you have those, go do that. And I'll be glad to answer any question you have about what we're talking about tonight, or maybe even if there's some we're not talking about them. But try to keep it there. But tonight we're talking about empowering people. So why don't we just get over there? Oh, I guess I should tell you, subscribe. Listen, I am not a social media expert. I am not a podcaster. I am not trying to get thousands and millions of likes to spread my word all over the world. The chances of that happening are so slim anyway. If I don't know if you know it or not, but your social media isn't getting out like you think it might be. Okay, so the key that I want to do is if I can connect with certain people who then connect back with me, then I know I'm going to affect somebody. I'm going to have an impact on them. I can answer. So if you email me back, if you comment in wherever you're going to comment on this, and I can see it, and I see it on Substack and LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook. I go to Facebook less, but periodically there. Or if you go to my website, victorlvogel.com, and you leave me a message there or say contact me or whatever. However you do that, if I get those, I know I'm connected and I'll respond back. And I may not connect with thousands or millions, but I'm connecting with folks, and it's making a difference in them. So if you want to be one of those folks, you got to come connect with me. I'm sorry. I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars to create some specific fantastic network that goes out here with. I'm not interested. I'm retired, so I'm not interested in running a business with other people at this point in time. I consult periodically like a retired person would. Somebody, every now and then I'll get a project and I'll work on a project, or I'll work with someone. And that's the way I like to work it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can reach me through my email, vic@victorlvogel.com. And or my email and all of my contact points are all over here. You can comment here. I check Substack. I like Substack, although I'm not totally familiar with how to use it yet. But I like it a little better than I like the others because there seems to be the opportunity to express yourself long enough. So subscribe to that. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe. There's a paid section I have on that I've set up only because somebody said, hey, you need to set up a paid side of this too. And I don't know if I should or not, but anyway, I did. And what I did to make that worthwhile for folks is I have probably one book on leadership that is talking about reinventing the whole damn leadership world. And that's exactly what we need to do. And then I have three, and there's three pillars to that. One is knowing yourself as an individual. That's a psychologically focused development area you need to work through. I'm not an expert in that area, but I refer you to people that are. Then there's the emotional intelligence side of that. That's where people work on connecting with others and being able to relate to others effectively. That is so closely tied to my profession, which is the third pillar of it, which is the interpersonal communication aspect of leadership and connecting with others and getting things done with other people. So those three pillars are underpinning the whole Renaissance, what I call Renaissance leadership change that I push it so hard. I have I have a book out on that. I have 3 books on the interpersonal communication side. They're backed up with workbooks that require you to go out and do something and learn it, not just read it. Um, and then there's the ability to connect with me. And I'm not charging unless for some reason we engage in a consulting contract, which is going to be rare. But I do like to talk about this stuff. So sometimes people will get in touch with me and we'll just sit there and spend, hey, I want to talk to you for 15 minutes about this. Okay. It ends up being 2 hours later when we're done talking. And that's the way it goes because you get excited, you get engaged, you get drawn in, and that's important. That's important. Okay, so subscribing, if you want to be a paid subscriber, that's fine. What I do with the books is I figured out a way on Google. Well, I didn't figure it out. Actually, I figured it out with AI. AI. Yeah, they help me figure out how to put all my books into an environment that I call my digital library, where if you become a paid subscriber, you can go read any of those books anytime you want, as opposed to paying $15 and owning, the book. You get the PDF for the book if you do that, and you carry it. But being a subscriber, you can read all of those books. So I think there's something probably like $100, $150 if you bought them all. And for the $20 a month, you're getting this newsletter, you're getting some tutorials like I'm doing now, you have access to all my books, and hey, we could chat. And I don't charge you to chat by the minute or the hour. You couldn't afford it if I did, so I don't want to do that. The last time people paid me for spending time doing that was with corporations, and it was expensive. It's expensive to do that. Just go ahead and try and get one of McKinsey's people to talk to you for an hour and see how much it costs. Anyway, so let's get on with this empowering your employees, because you think you might be empowering your employees. You think you read how to empower employees. The question is, does the employee feel empowered? And I'm telling you, if I go in there, if you invited me into your shop, your office, your work environment, and say you had 10, 12 employees there, and you wanted to know, hey, do my employees feel empowered? I can help you. I can just let you know pretty quickly whether they feel that way or not. Now, it's simply by talking with them, having a meeting with them, just sitting down talking with them. And there's some things that I have about how we communicate, an assessment I do, and that if there are certain things that I know for sure, if they are not happening, pretty doggone certain you're not empowering your employees and they don't feel empowered. Now, you may empower them to do them. You may punish them if they don't, which makes them feel like I'm supposed to be able to do this, but I can't. That kind of thing. There's all kinds of dynamics associated with this empowering thing that you're probably not thinking of because, one, people aren't putting them in their literature when they write about it, and two, they're just not talking to you about it. So we're going to talk about it right now today. So let me get us over here onto this power or empowerment thing. So navigating the lead. Navigating the lead is you, the leader, and developing and empowering your team is what we're talking about you doing. So let me see if I get there we go. Now, a common pain point. We're going to talk about the things that get in the way first, the frustrations of empowering first. the common pain point for leaders is developing the challenge of developing employees. What kind of keeps you from truly releasing and letting your employees having the authority to do what you would probably like them to do, but you're just hesitant about it? What are those things that get in the way of that? So here are a few common barriers. These are the ones I think I probably have seen the most out there in the world. And the first one is the time it takes that you have to spend with employees to make them feel comfortable enough to make a decision, whether they make a mistake or not, just to make a decision, to accept that responsibility and to do it. So from your standpoint, these are things that kind of frustrate you. They can also frustrate the employee. You have this perceived sense of the time it's going to take to get them ready. I'm going to have to spend a lot of time for me to feel comfortable that they know. Now you may be overstating that, and most likely are if you're a leader. You're probably placing more emphasis on that than you should, but it is something that gets in the way of you empowering your employee, releasing the information to the employee. And then there's what happens if the employee makes a bad decision and makes a mistake? Oh my God, I let him do it. I let her do it. She screwed up. Oh no. It's like it's the end of the world. And that is, and then the employee is thinking, oh my God, I screwed up. I don't know. How am I going to tell him I screwed up? So they may even delay telling you when you could have come back in and you guys could have fixed it real quick and it would have been fine. But by the time they get around to, you notice it on a spreadsheet, you go, what happened here? And then you're into a disciplinary orientation or a correction, a critique kind of thing. And it could have been easily handled if the employee would have felt comfortable that it was okay to make the mistake and you needed to come do it. Or before they acted, if they really felt uncomfortable, they might have come to you first and said, I'm ready to go. Here's what I think I want to do, but I'm not absolutely convinced that's going to work. I don't know if that's, and you might be saying, now, okay, opportunity for development. And yes, this is that time you have to spend with your employee, but it's fun time. It's like you can begin to ask the question. Say, so, well, let's work through this. What do you think you want to do? Okay, I want to do this. And what is the consequence? What are the things affecting this right here? And if they miss something in their thought process, you could say, what about this? What if this would happen? Then they would go, oh my God, that would change everything. And you go, yeah, wouldn't it? You think that might happen? Yeah, well, then how would you try to eliminate that to make sure this goes well? So you see the dynamic of that is you have an opportunity to work with your employee, but they have to feel comfortable enough to come to you with that without feeling like you're judging them or that they feel inadequate for some reason, or it's uncomfortable to come to you because you're challenging. I mean, there are leaders who want their role to be one of perceived authority. Okay. And so when you go to them with something, they're going, all right, so why don't you know that? You should know that by now. You've been here a year and a half. So what the hell's your problem? And you get that kind of a leader and you're sitting there going, yeah, I'm not sure I want to go in and tell them this. I think I'll just do it and live with the consequences. It's easier. And because I got a 50-50 chance of him being right. If I go into him, it's miserable. It's just miserable. So you have that scenario with your leader. It's just something I see happen all the time, and employees tell me constantly in confidence, don't tell him this, but I just can't go to him. Well, so now I have to figure out how to let the leader know that that's the case without the leader knowing I was told this. So I have to look for opportunities like everybody else to make things work. But that happens. This whole idea of what happens if mistakes are made is one reason why leaders sometimes hesitate to delegate. I don't know. Have you ever had one of those leaders and they delegated something to you and you said, I just have a slight question about this, and they go, yeah, try this, and they go, well, I don't, I didn't learn how to do that, and they say, okay, well, just move over here a minute, and they sit down and they do it, and they said, see how that worked, and what are you going to say? No. Because then they're going to look at you and you're going to go, oh my God. So that kind of scenario, if you're reading what I'm saying to you, you're bumping into there's a lot of opportunity to misconnect or be disconnected with your employee while you're doing this, when you should be highly connected with them, when you're trying to get them to the point of being able to assume responsibility and empowerment. They have to assume it. You can't just give it to them. It doesn't work. They're taking it on. So, and the third one I've seen quite a bit was, I actually see bosses get threatened when they see somebody has talent and they give them a little authority and responsibility, and that person may take something and go do it differently than the boss has done it and get a better product out of it. And it comes out fine. And then your boss comes up and says, man, this stuff worked great. What'd you do? Well, I didn't do it. Martha did it over here. He goes, oh, she did it. Well, you're sitting there going, uh-oh, my job's at stake here. If I start delegating too much authority on these people and they do a great job, I may be out of a job, or they may feel like I need to move along, go to pasture, if you will. And that happens a lot, by the way, with people who are more tenured in time. They're probably not going to make vice president. They're at a director level. They've been there for 15 years. And you find somebody coming, this is a lot of times what executives and corporations mean when they say, we need to bring in new blood, we need to bring in new management, new ideas, new thoughts. A lot of the times the people who suffer from that, as I've gone through and seen over 50 years of people transitioning in and out of companies, this is one of those areas that is interesting. Instead of figuring out how to actively use those people to enhance something else within the organization, their culture, whatever that might be, they're looking at replacing them. Let's talk about early retirement next week and something like that. I've seen that happen quite a bit. But from an empowerment standpoint, there are actually leaders who get threatened by their employees if they assume that empowerment and do a really excellent job with it. It normally stands out not just to you, but it stands out to the other employees. It stands out to their peers and their bosses and everybody else that's around them. And unfortunately, it may appear really comfortable when they're out talking to other people who they met at lunch or dinner or something, and they're talking about their work versus that company's work, and that happens to be one of your competitors, and they go, oh, Yeah, you need to talk with our recruiter. See, I've seen that happen too. So, building the foundation for trust and transparency is how you get through this process of empowering employees in a way where everybody is benefiting from the process. Um, and so, let's talk about that a little bit. The first thing is I'm going to I'm going to provide you like three particular things that are important that you need to start doing as a leader. You're going to, if you followed this 10 pain points, these things are being screamed at you consistently in every one of these sessions. So this one is you establish a culture of open and transparent communication. You can't be hiding things from people, holding back on things from people, keeping information to have power over people. These kinds of things do not work effectively in an organization. They hinder the relationship between leadership and employees, which is really where we are today. This is where the way companies tend to expect leaders to behave, and I'm saying we've missed a boat here for 5 or 6 decades. I've been in the business teaching this. And I'm saying we need to change that now. We need to change the paradigm. And the paradigm is beginning to do these things, to move into this realm of connecting and not just talking with employees. Um, so you want to establish a culture that's open, transparent, comfortable to communicate in, approachable, approachable. Way back in 1956, there was a couple of guys out of the University of Michigan that created something called the Power Bases, and French and Raven were their names. And one of those Power Bases was uh, the sense of being approachable and likable, and that rang so clear with interpersonal communication and what we now know as emotional intelligence. It didn't evolve until the late 1990s or early 2000s, but is now it's a clear language for what they were saying about approachable, but probably didn't define it as well as we have today. So this is one thing: transparent, open, free flowing, honest, enjoyable communication. Sometimes not enjoyable, but still free flowing because it's honest and transparent. That's the dynamic you're really looking for as a leader that's going to get you connected to your people. Part of being able to do that is active listening. Leaders who actively listen demonstrate respect, empathy, which allows them to better understand that employee, where they're coming from, where they are at the time you're having the discussion. It requires you to understand where you are when you're having that discussion. So that if you happen to be in the wrong place, if you just got off of an argument with somebody on the phone and you're about to have a discussion with your employee that's difficult to have, you may not be in the right emotional state to have that discussion, but it's scheduled and you have it, and then you just can't concentrate on the employee, or the employee's feeling the wrath that you're feeling from the conversation you just got off the phone. So there's some dynamics here about active listening that have not been well instructed and well presented by both universities, by major consulting groups, major learning, leadership development groups, even psychologists who train people in this stuff often don't bring this up like it should be brought up in the in the development process. They touch on it and scoot on by it, as opposed to taking the time to talk about why active listening engages you so effectively so you can feel the emotions of your employees, right to the point where you can actually almost feel the same anger that they're feeling. But you have the potential in your mind. Your brain has this potential because you are the one trying to correct some of this. While you're feeling, you can appreciate the person's anger and feeling. You're feeling it, you can still correct it because you can then lower your voice and you can talk more calmly. And the person will begin to calm down a little bit. You can get to the point of talking about the reality of the subject, and that gets you to feeling the emotional state this person is in and why. Because you've been there, you've most likely been there having those emotions, and you can sense what it's going to take to help this person get where they're going. Again, I've said this time and time again, and a lady who once told me what she wants out of conversations with people, not for them to hear what she says, but to feel what she said. Okay, which means you have to do a little more than hear it. Hear the words. You have to know more than hear the words. So we're going to talk a little bit about that coming up. The other factor that we often miss, because we're so engaged, this leadership paradigm we're living in today is all about producing a product or service and getting it out and getting the money for it. And oftentimes we forget why we went into business, why we were into business. So when I sit down with a group of people around the table and I said, why are you in this business? Well, I said, write it down, tell me why. Everybody goes around the table. Inevitably, there's some disagreement about why people think they are in the business they're in. And some of it is to make money for the shareholder, to make more profitable for the people who are investing in us, to make money. The idea is to make money, okay? And then there are other people going, well, no, this is a product that people need, Plasma bags are important. When we manufacture that to the specifications, people's lives are in, and that's important. Yeah, but the real reason we're doing that is to make the money so we can make more plasma bags. See, so you get that dialogue going. It's pretty interesting just to sit back and let them start talking at each other. They actually almost get in arguments about it. And it's because they don't discuss the why they are there. When they first started this, there was a need. And filling that need and satisfying that need was very satisfying feeling. And that need tends to change in big corporations when they reach the point where they're going public and other people are investing. And instead of satisfying that need of those people who needed those plasma bags, that was a very important need, and a very appreciated value you provided, and you felt good about it. But now it's, I got to fire half of my employees so I can make 2%, so I can give more money to these 25 major investors. That's a change. That's a change in purpose. It's a change in why. And your employees sense those changes. If you have that in your culture and your culture's changing, your employees are sensing that. But when you're empowering an employee to do a particular function or task, you can help them learn it faster by telling them why you're doing it and the expected outcome, and let them engage in trying to take their expertise to apply towards it. Maybe they will fail the first time or two, and you'll have to work with them. And maybe they'll actually do it better than you could have the first time out of the bag. That's all those are potential options with your employees. But you won't know until you engage and get them engaged and grabbing a hold of and wanting to participate and being empowered. To feel that feeling of being empowered. That's the key. That's the key. And it comes from, initially from you, and where you can begin to allow them to accept the empowerment. And then eventually they'll seek it. And when they want to seek it and they want to show you what they can do, that's a great dynamic for leadership to be in. So when we talk about that silent language and we say that it's more than just the words, I really mean it's more than just the words. We often believe that, when we're communicating, it's what we say. Like you're listening to what I'm saying right now. And part of the trouble with technology is we cut a lot of what I'm about to tell you out of the communication process. And our bodies, our minds, I don't know who created us or why. I don't want to get into that. But we are created as we are. That we know. The science of understanding who we are, we can know that. We know we feel a certain way, we see a certain way, we touch a certain way, we have senses, etc. We know all of this about ourselves. So how we use that is how we communicate, how we interface. It's more than words. So it's the unspoken language in our bodies that is the most powerful message sender. And if you don't know that and you tend to ignore that in your messaging, you'll be what's called incongruent. So one of those things is our voices. So yes, I am talking to you now. And you're listening to my words, and they'll be transcribed. You could literally read the transcription. What you won't hear is when I get to the point where I say you need to become engaged. You won't hear that in that transcription. You won't see my face. You won't see my voice. You won't hear the pitch and the intonation. You'll just read the words. And they'll just be black letters on a page to you. There will be no emotion in them. Now, you can do that with words. Writers do that all the time. I mean, people cry over books, They cry over the story. I think that's the difference. They cry over the story. They don't cry over the interaction with the character because they can't have it. You can't have it with the book. You can have it if you live it with them, but you can't have it with the book. You can't have it. You can have it somewhat with you cry in a movie because you can actually see some of the. You see what's being said. You can hear the intonation of voice changes. This is as close right now. What I'm doing with you on this video is as close to that as possible to being next to you. So thank God we at least have this. Because if we were relying on the newsletter, you would not, and these bullet points, you would not be getting the intensity of the importance of the pitch in your voice. Whether it's soft, whether it's excited or not. That's important. That is being read when you send the words out that I'm saying. That pitch, that excitement, that fervor is being consumed the same way. How we use our space, how close are you to somebody? How far away are you? Do you have a barrier between you and them? All of those things count. All of those things count. The way time counts. Do you hold a meeting? Do you call somebody into a meeting right in the middle of their busiest thing they're doing, or during their lunch hour, or without any concern for them and what's going on with their time? Do you give somebody a task to do that is impossible in a time frame for their knowledge capability, because you don't understand their knowledge capability, because you don't talk to them? They don't even see them. I have people who have told me in assessments and then interviews afterwards, the problem they have with their leaders, they can't communicate. And I say, what do you mean? They just leave a sticky note. That's not communication. That's a sticky note with an instruction. It's not a communication. There's a lot missing out of it. A lot of this stuff we're talking about right here. Touch is important. It's something that we've somehow decided is horrible inside corporations because we're fearful of being sued. In America, it's not so much the case in Europe. I mean, I've consulted in other places, like in Europe, and touching somebody in Europe and hugging and it's just a looser, more relaxed environment. It's not a threatening. And what we've become is litigious. And if I touch you on a finger on your shoulder, that's sexual harassment. It's something I can use against you, particularly if I'm really pissed at you or I don't like you. I can just go ahead and then, even if it doesn't evolve into a lawsuit, you got to go through all the headaches of that. And they know that. That prevents you from providing one of the most dynamic, emotionally stabilizing things you can do with somebody: hug. A hug. Your mind, your nervous system, your central nervous system, all the rest of your nerves in your bodies that release hormones and everything that totally calm the body down from a nice, gentle, loving, caring hug. You've had them. You can remember them. It just drains all the negativity out of the body. You can, your dopamine almost feels like it's just rolling all over you. It's feeling so good. So this happens from touch, but we don't want you touching anybody. God knows you touch somebody in the office. And people are mentally being trained to think that that's bad. That's bad. That touching somebody in a work environment's bad. Even hugging them in a working environment's bad. So it's a sad state of affairs, but it's there. But anyway, there are a lot of ways that we communicate these silent languages. I have this in my book, Understanding the Language of the Body. I cover all of these in pretty much detail that you can get that book on my website, vvogel.com, victorlvogel.com. Well, at victorvogel.com, I'll get it too, but you can buy it there. Or it's one of the books that's available in the digital library for all my paid subscribers. If you're a paid subscriber, you can read all my books for free, and you can carry them around everywhere you go on your phone for reference whenever you need them, as long as you have that paid subscription. If you buy them, you can load them in PDFs on your phone too, so that's another thing. So that carries the true weight of a message. That's where it is. That's what it's all about. So to empower others, your nonverbal cues must align with your words. So when you're creating a message, how you send that message is just as important as the words that you're using to say it. You're not going to get the same thing out of the transcript of this video than if you watch this video. you'll come away with some different opinions about things if you watch it than if you just simply read the transcript. And then you allow GLASP or something like that to narrow that down to 5 minutes of here's what he really meant. That piece of software has no friggin' idea what I'm really feeling when I'm talking to you about this, how passionate I am about this being a major issue we need to change in leadership. One of the big paradigm changes that we need to make in leadership. So how do we do this? We develop with authority. We don't just assign tasks. We delegate the authority to do it. When employees have ownership over their projects, they feel a sense of competence and value. You have to prepare them to get ready for that. You have to spend time doing these things we've been talking about. And then when they're ready to assume it, give it to them. Give it to them. And then reward them. Make them feel great about it. Give them some unconditional data boys, way to go, when they least expect it, when they don't know. I found that unconditionally praising people is probably one of the strongest things you can do to make somebody feel good for that day. It can take all the negativity out of the day for somebody. At the end of the day, you go by. I probably haven't told you this, but I really appreciate everything you're doing for me, and I just haven't taken the time enough to say that. So I appreciate it. And by the way, here's a couple of tickets to the football game, and you leave. They weren't expecting it. It's the last thing they were expecting, but you can believe it's the thing they're going to remember the most about you as a boss. You want to foster autonomy instead of micromanaging. Set clear expectations, then step back and support what they're doing. If you have that open, transparent communication, they're not going to go do that mistake because they feel comfortable. They sense it as a potential mistake. They're going to come talk to you first. If they didn't sense it, it's because they didn't know. So you can't really blame them or get really excited about what they didn't know, because they either didn't know it because you didn't teach it or it wasn't available. There's too many reasons to lay blame for not knowing. That's not important. What's important is now let's figure out and show you what you need to know. So it's just not worth spending the negative time on. It's not solving anything. You provide actionable feedback, regular constructive insights that helps the employee grow and nurture. This is mostly done through questioning. Don't tell employees what to do. Don't show employees what to do. Ask them how they think they ought to do it. And then ask some more questions based on what they're doing. Until they will come up with what we go, oh yeah, I see what you mean. That aha moment is an exciting learning experience for an employee. It should be even more excited for the instructor who's helping that employee see that, whether that's a leader or a teacher or anything else that goes with that. So it's just one of those things that's exciting to deal with. So mentorship over management, that's what this is all about. So keep in mind, leadership are the linchpins of the employee motivational system. They are the heart, the blood and the heartbeat of the whole organization. So that's the intensity, the value that you add. If you think about your body, what would happen if your blood flow stopped and your heart stopped? Well, you die. If your leadership is weak and failing, your organization is going to suffer the same way your body suffers. So why would you as an executive turn around and decide to take out half the system that supports your system, your body? You would take out half your organs, most of your blood vessels, you just get rid of them, And we'll try that and see if it works. Don't do that. Don't do that. Uh, Recognize the other side of it. I have this, and how I treat it, how I make it work. The more I know about it, the more I see how it interfaces with all the other organs, the more these people all see how they integrate to make this perfect closed system work every day, day in and day out. And Vic doesn't have to worry about it too much, other than to feed it properly and do what it takes to keep it healthy as much as possible. And yes, we will wear out eventually, but let's wear out later, not earlier, because we make mistakes. So mastering the interpersonal communication system is how you connect with your people. That's what you do with your people. That's your connection tool. And that's what all of these, if you go back and work through all of these newsletters and you look at all of these tutorials, there's 10 hours of tutorials here with some powerful information. And the more you watch them, the more you're going to go, I learned something I missed last time. That's what you should be doing, as opposed to trying to figure out, how can I get this down to 3 minutes? I hate taking things like this and making them into clips. It violates the whole concept of learning and growth, in my opinion. So, just my thoughts. And if you don't watch them, that's okay. That's just your problem as far as I'm concerned. Because I'm doing it, I'm spending my time to get you to the point where you understand it and you want to do it, because it will change your relationship, not just with your employees. This stuff is going to change your relationship with everybody you touch, anybody that means anything to you, and a few people who don't. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this session here. And as usual, we're right at about an hour into the session. So they take about an hour to do. But I enjoy them. I enjoy wanting you to engage with me. I want you to be able to link with and connect with your people in a way that is beneficial, open, transparent, helpful, beneficial, building trust, building relationships, building unity, and building community. The role of a leader is not to deliver products and services through other people. It's to build the community and the organization that allows everybody to be optimized towards that goal. That's the role of leader. And so you should not just be relating as a leader and connecting with the leader with just your employees. You should be having sessions with your peers and working with them on that also, talking about it amongst each other. You should be requiring your boss to provide you some insights to that will help you out. There's a lot to it, folks. We miss so much. And consequently, what we have is that damn argument that's going up in Washington, D.C., that we can't just seem to get anybody to get their act together enough to practice any of this stuff we're talking about. If you want to see all of this stuff just falling into the toilet, watch what's going on between senators and Congress people and administrators, etc. Watch it all. Okay? All right. And that's all I'm going to cover. You can get with me if you would like. I appreciate all the time you spend with us. Again, subscribe to the channel and start connecting with me, and we'll start trying to talk. And no, I'm not going to have thousands. I couldn't handle thousands anyway, but I can handle quite a few people where we can get together, and then you can start spreading the word along with me, and that's how we increase the value to everybody else. So you have a very good evening.